What's up, guys? Welcome to GIFD Lifestyle. Today we have with us a living legend, literally, Rey Mysterio, who is probably most well known from the WWE, but we're going to get into basically, I know you probably didn't want this or ask for it, but you're basically the face of Lucha Libre. Like, everyone knows the Rey Mysterio mask and who Rey Mysterio is. So, Rey, I know you got a big week coming up. You're traveling like crazy. This weekend is Survivor Series. You're competing for the title. Thank you so much for taking the time, man.
No, thank you, Jerry, for having me on board, man. Really look forward to talking to you. I know we talked a lot about getting this day, and pushing forward with it, and talking about nutrition and my career and what I've done. It's been we're gonna have a hard time trying to sum up 30 years plus in 30 minutes or so.
Yeah, we can
But
go
we'll do
whatever
our
you want to
best.
do, man. If you want to go longer, I'm sure
Okay.
it's fine with everybody if you go longer. One thing,
Awesome.
because I really wanted people to get to know the Rey Mysterio and not just the wrestler, right? Because the guy too, because you're a great guy on top of it, and a lot of
Thank you.
people don't know that. One of the things that I love that you do, and that my wife goes crazy for it too, is when you come down to the ring and you see the little guys, the little kids wearing the masks against the railing, and you walk up to them and you go mask to mask with them. That's just, I
Yeah.
mean, it's stuff that they're never going to forget. And that's just something that I think, my brother, when we were growing up, he was the biggest Rey Mysterio fan, man. He would go
Oh
nuts,
wow.
because he was a little guy and he was like, if Ray can
Yeah.
do it, I can do it. He went
Yeah.
crazy for it, man. So it's
What's your
awesome.
brother's name?
Justin.
Justin. Shout out to Justin, man. Thank you very much for following my career.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it.
So now,
Yeah.
the mask that you were wearing recently, I saw the Louis Vuitton one, which people don't know that you're very into streetwear. And
Yes.
you and Dominic both are into streetwear, your son. And you're
Yes.
into sneakers. You're a sneakerhead, an avid sneakerhead.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the Louis Vuitton mask was awesome. This week I
Thank you.
saw on Raw. But there was one that you wear that says mask on it. Is that a takeoff of the off-white Virgil where they put air on the sneakers?
My gear is very inspired off of my personal trend. The swag that I like to rock. So the Louis Vuitton one was a creation from the moment I started buying my Louis Vuitton gear, bags, you name it. It came to a point where I was like, what if I cut one of these bags up and I just make a mask out of it? The sides of my Falcons are made out of leather or
Yeah.
vinyl. So that's what we did. I talked to my designer and he's like, yeah, we can make it happen. So please try to do this on the DL, because if my wife finds out I cut one of her purses, she's gonna fucking kill me. But the new gear that I'm rocking right now, I became a big fan of Off-White
Yeah.
and Virgil. So it is very inspired off of his creation.
It's very cool, man. And of course, I've seen you rocking the Yeezys and stuff. I've seen you in the ring wearing them sometimes too.
By the way, you sent me and my son a pair of Yeezys. We greatly appreciate, and I rock those all the time. There was one time that I remember doing a show. My wrestling gear didn't come in. My boots didn't come in, so I had to wear my Yeezys in the ring. Those were the most comfortable things I've wrestled in a long time.
And I remember seeing the pictures. I was like, man, he's wearing Oreos to wrestle in this. That's pretty cool. I was like, I think a lot of
Yeah.
people wouldn't notice it, but sneakerheads notice it. Like, we make sneaker to eye contact before we make eye to eye contact most times. You know what I mean?
That's crazy. That's
So,
crazy. I actually talked to my guy that makes my wrestling boots, who they're down in Mexico. It's a company by the name of Firma. And my guy out there, Rafa, I told him, hey, is it possible to add a high top to this sneaker, which was a Yeezy at the time? He's like, yeah, we can try and make that happen. So I might be coming out with a boot that's custom to Rey Mysterio with the pair of Yeezys, just adapted to my wrestling style.
that's awesome. So it would be for yours to wear in the ring, or are you going to put them on the market to sell?
No, it would be for me to wear
Oh, cool, cool.
in the
Awesome,
ring.
man.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
just because that one time they were just so comfortable to wrestle in.
Yeah.
I was like, what if we created a boot out of this? So we would just add a piece to the Yeezy and turn it into a wrestling boot.
Yeah, they're absolutely the most comfortable shoes. I'd gotten an Ultra Boost first, and a friend of mine was
Uh-huh.
like, yo, you should try these Yeezys. And I kept looking, they were so expensive. I was like, why are
Right.
these things so expensive? So I just said, hell with it, and I bought a pair. And I was wearing them to all the expos because I'd be standing on my feet to 8 to 10 hours signing autographs and stuff. And
Right.
your knees hurt, your back hurts and stuff like that. Well, I put the Yeezys on. Lo and behold, by the end of the day, my back and knees didn't hurt. Like, the Boost was just so cushioned that you could stand up all day long and you don't have the same problem that you did before.
It's crazy. I had a very similar story with my son, and passed on to me, and me passed on to my father. So when Yeezys came out, I got my son his first pair. I didn't have them. So I got him his first pair. He wore them. Then he came back to me and said, Dad, you got to get yourself a pair of these, man. They're the most comfortable shoes. I ended up getting a pair, and now my closet is full. My dad just went to Europe. He was on a trip with my mom, and they do a lot of walking. They just love to walk. So I told my dad, I said, here, take a pair of my Yeezys and let me know what you think. He said they were the most comfortable shoes. My dad is 70, so imagine that. You know, he loved them, man. He said he got stopped a couple times, like, hey, where'd you get those shoes? So he
So
also was bringing attention. So I thought that was pretty cool.
so now they're his Yeezys. They're not your Yeezys anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I said, keep them. Yeah,
That's the thing about the Yeezys. My wife, she didn't really know anything about them. She knows now, but I started buying them for her because they were comfortable. And she was at a
right.
gas station. I think she had the semi-frozen yellows on at a gas station. And they had
Okay,
this was before they came out. I spend extra money and I get the early pairs before they come out.
right.
And somebody stopped her and she was pumping gas. They said, "Excuse me, ma'am," and she turned around and looked. She said, "Yeah," and the guy goes, "Can I take a picture of your shoes?" And she was like, "What?" So she's like, "Yeah, okay." So the guy took a picture. And she came home and she was like, some random guy stopped me at the gas station and took a picture of my shoes." And we had a laugh about it. So yeah, I mean, you can see behind me, I have some of my collection there, and I have, of
Yeah,
course,
I see
I
that.
love that stuff, man.
That's awesome.
So you're wearing the
That is
Nutrition
awesome.
Solutions mask, which that's how we first kind of became aware of each other. And I met you with Chris for the first time.
Right.
I think it was SmackDown 1000. Afterwards, Chris was there, and I guess he came to see you. He was actually traveling with you at the time, and we
Yes.
kind of linked up there. And then, of course, again at SmackDown, right before Mania was the last one. I was backstage with Sheamus, and we linked up over there. Now, what you
Right.
may not remember, and I remember this, but this is going back way long time ago with WCW. There's a girl named Spice. Her name was Melissa. That
Yes.
used to be one of the Nitro
Hmm.
girls. And I came in
Hmm.
contact with her. My brother Justin wanted to go meet Bret Hart. I came in contact with her,
Hmm.
and I looked like Buff Bagwell. I was 250. I had the black hair, the goatee, and she goes, "You look kind of like Buff. What would you think
Oh,
about
wow.
wrestling?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it today." I didn't understand anything that went into it. So I actually met up
Right.
with her in Providence, Rhode Island, when you guys came there.
Right.
She introduced me to I can't remember his name. He was doing the booking at the time, and they were like, you have to go to the power plant and go through all this stuff. And I remember you walked in, and I remember I was like, "Who's that guy? Is that Ray?" Because you didn't have the mask on. You were drinking champagne.
Right.
It was in a champagne
Oh.
glass, right? And I'm looking. I was like, "Is that him?" She's like, "Yeah, yeah." She goes, "He won't take any pictures with you without the mask. It's so fun." So I just walked up and I just said, "Hey, Ray, I'm a big fan and stuff." And you were super cool about it. Everything, like talking, and you were kind of walking around. Nobody really noticed it was you because you didn't have the
Right.
mask on
Got
and
away.
stuff. Yeah. And I just
Yeah.
remember, people would ask me and stuff like, "Oh, who have you met?" And I'm like, "Well, I met Ray. I met this one." I said, Ray was super cool back in the day. He was just walking around Champagne by himself, just chilling, like talking to just random people and shit. So I appreciate you, taking the time, and
Oh
everything that
man.
you've done since then has just been amazing. And how old are you now, Ray?
Uh, I was talking to my wife about this yesterday, and I was like, "Am I 45 or 46?" So I'm 45, and I'm going to turn 46 in December.
Okay, December. I'm December
Yeah,
12th. I'll be 44 in December 12th.
you're, you're a day after me, so I'm December 11th.
Sagittarius makes sense, man.
Yes, Sagittarius. Oh yes,
So
yes,
now,
100%.
when you started training for wrestling, I don't know if many people know that your uncle was the original Rey Mysterio, and you were the Rey Mysterio Junior. You don't go by Junior anymore, correct?
No, I used that at the beginning of my career, especially because back then in Lucha Libre, it was very hot. It was either the son of Rey Mysterio or Rey Mysterio Jr. So that was like a big trend back in the early mid 80s to mid 90s. Almost a decade of that junior or being the son of was very hot. And then, of course, when I entered WWE, they decided to drop the junior just because they figured that I was the only Rey Mysterio in the company. But the history, from the hardcore fans, they know who I am and who my uncle is.
Now, did you start training with weights and stuff like that before you started wrestling, or was that something that you started wrestling first?
No, I actually I would do a lot of push-ups and squats at a very young age. That was just part of our training regimen when I went to wrestling camp. And that was on a daily basis from Monday through Thursday. So always been a push-up type of guy.
Okay. So then you started wrestling, you started training after that. So how old were you when you actually started training with weights and stuff like that?
I was probably 14,
Okay, so still
going on to
young.
15. Yeah, very young.
Still very
Yes,
young.
very young. Yeah, I've always been around gyms and weights, and uh, I would always like to just get an idea of how or the way you need to work out in order to build a body. Nobody ever taught me on how to exercise, so I kind of just learned on my own way and just picking up from the old timers, on how they would work out, and I would just pick up their movements and their range of motion and kind of just uh, evolved into it. And of course, later on down the road, I had personal trainers that helped me uh, gain size throughout my career. But at the beginning, it was you got to figure it out and find out on your own, kind of like an old school.
Right, right. So you didn't really have
Yeah,
anybody kind of directing you for it. You just kind of hang out with the older guys, or they call them the old school guys, and kind of, old timers. I usually call them old
yeah. I don't.
timers.
Yes, yeah, old timers. Yeah.
Yeah,
I really didn't have someone by my side to kind of educate me and show me proper form and show me what it meant to lift heavier and repetitions and all that, until about 1997. I was already in my first year of WCW. I'd torn my ACL and I was coming back from my injury, and I decided to get a personal trainer to help me build up some muscle.
nice. Now I've seen that. You're 45 now, and of course you're constantly on the road. It's harder to maintain, your physique and stuff when you're on the road. And you've had some injuries throughout the years, obviously. Like people don't realize, a lot of people say stuff like, "Well, wrestling's fake," and I'm like, "Oh, listen, if I tell you I'm going to pick you up over my head and slam you on the ground and your back, is it going to hurt?" And they go, "Well, yeah." I'm going to say, "Well,
Right,
that's no difference." Sometimes because you know something's coming, you know what it's going to feel like, and you're already, bracing because you know how
prepared.
bad it's going to feel. So, like throughout
Right.
the time that you've been, wrestling and training and stuff, what kind of injuries have you had that like they were things that you could get past, but you were just never like fully 100%,
The
or even
same.
yeah, it's just you're just a little gun shy to try something, like because you had an injury or something.
I think after my first ACL tear, that definitely set me back. Um, wow, I'd say a couple years, and I think that was just wear and tear that I've had from starting at a very young age, training at a very young age, and the comparison of both lifestyles, the American lifestyle and the Mexican lifestyle inside the ring. Rings in Mexico aren't they're not in the best shape
Mm.
possible. So you work your best around it. Young, you don't really care. You just want to go all out. You want the fans to recognize you, and you want to put on a good show. And I think that caught up to me eventually when I entered WCW, and boom, my first ACL snapped on my left knee. After that, it was like a tradition for my knee to have an ACL tear every other year, pretty
Oh
much.
wow,
Building up to a total of 9 surgeries on my left knee.
wow, and it's always the same injury all the time.
Same injury. The last one that I had was in, I believe, 2011, and that was the worst of them all because I had pretty much torn my ACL, my MCL, my PCL was stretched, and I think my knee was just it was hanging on by the PCL. So
Wow.
my knee was completely shattered. I remember that night clearly because we were the main event. Alberto Del Rio and myself in San Diego. It was a SmackDown TV, and we had just started the match. Within a
Wow.
matter of 2 minutes, I was like, my knee, my knee. He goes, hey, okay, let's finish. I said, no, 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 hold on. Let me see if I can still go. So I think that let me see if I can still go. Uh, Push me to tearing other
Yeah.
ligaments in my knee. That by the end of the match, which was probably about 11 minutes long, I couldn't put any pressure. I couldn't walk. It was completely shattered. So and that was the worst one of them all. But after that, thank God, I, from going to the knees, it moved over to my bicep. So I tore both of my biceps, right arm and left arm, within the next 10 years
Wow.
per se.
Was it in a match or
Yeah.
was it in the gym or?
My first bicep tear was on tour. We were in South America. We were in Chile, and I was in there with Kane. And the simplest thing that you can imagine, uh, he was in turnbuckle, and I grabbed him by the wrist, and as I pushed him to shoot him off to the other turnbuckle, as soon as I did this, it just pulled on me right
Really?
away. I was like, and I couldn't straighten out my arm after that.
Did you have to have
Yeah,
surgery on it, or was that able to heal on its own?
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, that I was about. They asked me if I wanted to have surgery, or they left it up to me. And it's funny because these moments were critical in my career. We were just getting ready to go into the pay per view. I forgot what pay per view it was, but it was a pay per view where Mayweather was going to come out in my corner. So it was in March, and Big Show. Remember that big feud that they had,
Yeah.
Big Show
Yep.
and Mayweather. So I was supposed to be part of that angle going into WrestleMania, and unfortunately, to my injury, I had to get pulled out of that match.
Man, and was the other bicep torn in a match too, or was it?
The other bicep was torn last year in February, and same thing in a match. I was doing a backflip and I landed kind of short, and I just used my hands to kind of block my fall. I landed on my feet, but in a squatting position,
Ah,
and your instinct is to just jerk your arms right away.
yeah,
And it was a matter of a second, and it snapped. Now the big difference is with this tear, I was on the road traveling a lot. Wasn't taking care of my lifestyle. Was just eating whatever I could at
yeah,
whatever time I could. Just no dietary plan whatsoever. And purple, swollen. I
yeah.
couldn't extend my arm. This one, I had already been on my nutrition solutions diet plan. I was taking care of myself. I was taking my supplements, my vitamins, you name it. I was on grade A of everything. So when this one tore, the reaction was completely the opposite of this
Really
one. I
interesting.
was able to extend my arm. Actually, this one I didn't have to get it repaired. When the doctor saw me, he was like, "Yeah, it's torn, but for some reason it doesn't feel like it's torn."
Right.
So did an MRI. They saw it was a full tear, distal tear.
Huh.
Uh, but again, the flip side, and I would really love to know deep down inside, was it uh, my preparation, just physically, and how I was taking care of myself, that made this arm feel much healthier than this one.
Right.
So that's something that I'm still juggling around
I
with.
mean, I'm big into diet and stuff like that. I did bodybuilding for 20 years. I did physique competitions for 5. I did professional wrestling as an independent for 4 years. And I feel like, if you're eating good foods and you're getting all your vitamins and minerals, stuff like that, and then when you guys are on the road, rest, I mean, you guys don't get a lot of rest. You're constantly on the go and stuff like that. But the more you do to take care of yourself, the faster you heal, the less injuries you have, stuff like that. And I feel like the older you get, the more you have to do that stuff. Like the younger you
Right.
are, I mean, you can get away with just about anything when you're like 20, 21. When you hit like 30, things change. And when you hit 35, they change even more. 40, they change even more. Now, what type of, like, how have you adapted your training from, because I've seen you train with Cavallini before, and, we should actually talk about Nutrition Solutions because that's how we both are aware of each other through Chris Cavallini. And Nutrition Solutions, for those of you that don't know, everybody who watches my channel knows because I'm all over it all the time. But it's
Right.
basically a meal company that will prepare your food and they'll send it to your door every week, and it's a different rotating menu. So you never have the same menu and you don't get bored with it. And they use chicken and fish and they use all the things that you would normally eat and cook yourself, like on
Yes.
the quote unquote bro foods, but they make them in a way that it's like almost tastes like restaurant food. So it's good
It's
for you.
tastier.
The
Yes.
macros are good, but it just tastes really good. So since you've obviously when you're eating like that, your body heals faster. Overall you're doing better for your body. It's in a better state. But how has your training changed from let's say when you were 20 to now? Like you were doing a lot of the metabolic high intensity workouts I saw when you were training with Cavallini. Is it more of that
Yes.
stuff? Is it weight training? Because you still hold a lot of size. Like you're still bigger and thicker.
It is a lot of that because I learned a lot with Chris. I learned so much from Cavallini that I hadn't done before. My body was reacting to it. Obviously they say that when you shock your body, it tends to get a great reaction. Now, keep in mind that at the age of I've known Chris for almost 3 years now. My change came in after my 40s, so my body was like, "Whoa, what is this? I'm,
Yeah.
I'm liking this." My joints weren't hurting, but on top of that, like you said, my supplementation was on point, my meals were on point. So it's a combination of all of that thrown into one, and you realizing that your body is going through a big change because of age. But you're right. The more you attend your body, the more benefits you're going to receive out of it. But yeah, it's very high intensity cardiovascular workouts and circuit training.
You do a lot of
That
circuit
I've
training.
done. Yeah, I'm not big into pushing heavy weight because of my joints, my shoulders, my wrists, carpal tunnel. You know, um, But overall, I try to maintain my size and my definition on my body.
And you're doing that through the circuit type workouts. Now, is it like a whole
Yes.
body every time you go? Do you split it up? How do you create the workouts?
That I do vary a lot, and depending on how I feel, especially if I'm home, I tend not to work out on the road anymore, just because I'm only gone 1 or 2 days. So I try to do just my cardio on the road. But when I'm back home, I can jump in the gym, and depending on what I feel that day, if I feel like I just need to get a chest workout, I'll just do chest. If I feel like I need to get a leg workout with a little bit of a shoulder workout, I'll just combine both of them, and I'll do a circuit training, maybe 3 to 4 exercises per body part, 2 sets of each, and then jump and do my cardio. I have a infrared sauna that I jump in afterwards, and I think a combination again of all of that has helped me maintain to do what I've been doing for the past 30 years.
Is there anything you do specific for wrestling? Like I notice a lot of the guys, like Sheamus is one of my closest friends, and he's not doing the super big weights and stuff like that anymore. He's doing a lot of metabolic training and stuff like that. Rusev is kind of doing the same. He's one of my friends. But is there something you do specifically for wrestling, or is it just you have your fitness quote unquote routine that you do, and the wrestling kind of takes care of itself if you're doing the fitness training?
Yeah, the wrestling kind of takes care of itself. The stuff that I do at home, fitness wise, is just to keep my body in shape and to be able to look good on TV. I've seen Sheamus recently. He looks incredible.
Yeah.
Rusev as well. He looks incredible. He's lost a lot of weight, and it seems like every time I see him, he looks slimmer and wider. You know, which another thing I love to do is I love to get feedback and pointers from guys like Sheamus and Rusev. What are you doing? What works for you? Let me try it. If it works for me, I'll apply it.
I've actually been doing their diet for both of them. Cesaro also, and what we just
Okay.
basically try to do is just start counting macros and adjusting the macros to get them to keep their weight down as opposed to let it go up. When you're younger, if you're heavier, your body can take that beating in the ring. And I kind of have a different look on it because I did professional wrestling for 4 years and I was able to maintain my physique. So I had to figure out how to do a hybrid type routine back then because nobody was really helping me with it. So I figured that, there is a flexibility aspect, which I don't know if you do flexibility training, but the older I get, I need more flexibility and, sort of the guys that are athletes and stuff too. But it's really about the food. It's really about being on the road and trying to be consistent with the food because you can be good when you're home, but if you're on the road 5 days or 6 days out of the week and you're not hitting those macro numbers and eating the right foods, your body's not going to react. You wind up getting softer, a little bit fatter, you get a little bit weaker, more tired. Then all of a sudden, if you start eating those foods, which are, people make fun of them called the clean foods, your body recovers faster, you have more energy, you feel better, like you're more coherent,
Right.
everything. So it's really
Right.
about a lot of it comes down to the diet. Like the diet
Yeah.
supports the training. Like you can go in the
Right.
gym and train all you want, and you got 23 hours outside of the gym. If you mess something up 23 hours, it undoes that 1 hour like all the time.
100%.
So you also,
I definitely need to get to jump on a separate phone call with you, Jerry, so we can go ahead and discuss that because I'm horrible with tracking percentages on what I need of certain things. So I need to get educated a little bit more on that aspect of dieting. So I would definitely love to pick your brain, man,
absolutely.
and take some of your knowledge.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. We'll sit down and we'll crank it out. Now, you also, which I find
Thank you.
super interesting and not many people talking about it, you had the stem cell. I don't know if it's
Yes.
called transplants or if it's called treatment. I think it's called treatment, right?
Treatment. Yes,
So you had the
treatment.
stem cell treatment done, which I followed that and I watched them, go through those big needles that they stuck in your body and stuff. But I also
Right.
noticed that when you were done healing and you came back, and I only watch, honestly, I only watch wrestling to watch, you, Sheamus, Cesaro, and I watch the
Right.
guys that I know, and I noticed you were moving better almost immediately. Like you were running better, you were getting up off the ground faster, like your time in general,
Uh-huh.
as far as having to, getting up off the mat slow after a big spot or something, decreased, like immediately. You could see it.
Right.
Now, why don't you
Right.
explain a little bit what you did down there and how it's affected you? Because I think that this is probably the future for not just athletes, but people with ailments in general.
Yes, I'll tell you what, you're right about that. It's I had the idea of that this was strictly or mainly for athletes, and that's what they were going up to Colombia to do, in Medellin to be exact. They were practicing stem cells or doing stem cell treatment in order to recuperate or have longevity. But I actually ran into a lady there that was not an athlete, just random lady that was there with her mom. I believe they were out from Chicago, and we started conversating. I asked her why she was out there, what she did. Like, oh, I work, have a normal job, but I do this for healthy living. So on top of that, it's a rejuvenating form and for a healthy living. So she had a treatment done for herself, and she had a treatment done for her mom. She had to be maybe in her late 40s, maybe early 50s, and the mom had to be somewhere probably around the 70s. And they looked incredible, and they were very happy, and left very happy. So was actually glad to hear that side of the stem cell treatment, that not just athletes are looking to get this. In general, anybody that can afford it and can do it, you're doing it for healthy living, for longevity, and for anti-aging as well. Mm-hmm. So I had a treatment done all around my body. I had my left shoulder done. I had both of my knees done. I had my ankle, both of my forearms for my bicep tears, and both of my wrists for my carpal tunnel. And what it does is it rejuvenates the cells that are already in your body, and it just helps you with faster recovery, and it helps you with longevity as well. And you just feel this aura of energy that slightly starts creeping up into your body. And regarding to what you said, that you noticed me getting up faster, me just running a little bit at a more higher pace, all of that has to do with again, not just the stem cells, but a combination of putting everything together. My diet, my supplementation, on top of that, my training, and now the stem cell therapy. It's just like a big bang, really, really highly recommend. This company that I did the treatment with is called Bio Accelerator, and they're based out of Medellin, Colombia. So anybody that is looking to doing some research on stem cell therapy, you should look into that and see if that's the one you want to go.
And you feel more youthful. You feel younger again since you've had the treatments.
Much, much younger. I think a lot of people expect to feel a difference like right away, and everybody is different. Every body is different. I was talking about his treatment because he just had done probably about a month ago, and I saw him last week at Raw, and I asked him how he felt after the stem cell treatment. He said, it really hasn't showed up. Like I've noticed little differences here and there, but I really haven't felt what Kevin Nash felt, perhaps. That he said, like within a day, he had a feeling in his arm, which he didn't. So again, and I think this is very important to pass out. So anybody who's willing to try it or research on it knows that everybody is different on their reaction. Bobby Lashley had his knees done, and his knees, he said he couldn't walk for probably like 2 days. I had both of my knees shot up, and I was moving around like nothing. Huh. So again, everybody reacts different to the therapy, but at the end of the day, it's an improvement that you start feeling slowly. It could take all the way up to 3 months in order for you to feel like the full effect.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it's definitely something in the future that we're going to see more and more of. Again, it's one of those things that people, when something new comes out like that and it works so well and people just don't know about it, they kind of not shy away from it, but they look at it and go, I don't know. And then what happens if someone like yourself comes out, they go, oh, well, Rey Mysterio, because they look up to you. So they'll go, oh, well, Rey Mysterio did it. Let me kind of check into it. And then it kind of spreads from there. But I know they were doing PRP, plasma-rich platelet injections, which a couple of my friends have had those. I tore my pec a few years ago. The tendon was still attached. So they couldn't reattach it. And I actually thought about doing the PRP, but they were like, without that tendon, it's going to heal the same way it's going to heal if you don't do it. So it's really not, you're going to waste the money on it. But the stem cell, something, is like at 43, because of the way I eat, like I don't have anything, like I don't drink Diet Coke, I don't drink sweeteners, I only drink water, and it's Fiji water, it's no fluoride, BPA free. I'm a little bit hippie now getting into my middle 40s because I just feel better, So I'm always constantly looking at a thing like people do drugs, people, drink, they have sex, they do everything to feel good, but they won't change their diet to feel better, like on a daily basis, right? It's the most simple thing. Like instead of eating the burger, why not eat like a grass-fed burger, that doesn't have, maybe it's got cheese that's cattle that's been fed, grass fed, for whatever, for the cattle, like just a better option, healthier option to feel better. And I feel like people they don't realize it because they feel so awful already that they're adapted to it and they feel normal being, feeling like awful. So if they can't
Right.
understand what it is, but once you've gone through that transition and start eating the cleaner foods and taking care of yourself, like I'm sure you feel better now at 45 than you did when you were 30, if this is the weight that you went, right?
Probably
Yeah.
between the age of 30 and 40, that was like my hard grind with WWE. I was traveling, working 4 days a week, coming home for one day, resting another day, and then the other day I had to go back on the road. So
Yeah.
it was a really tough schedule from my 30s to my 40s. But it's funny you mentioned grass-fed cheese or burger. My wife and my daughter became vegan not too long ago. They were on that diet for about 2 months. They wanted to try it out and see what results they got, which they loved. Incredible. My daughter, it's a little bit harder for her to stick with something because she loves to try so much. She's only 18.
Right.
So, she loves to eat. She loves to work out, but she's not consistent with it, which I tell her that's a priority. If you start something and you see benefits, stay with it.
Right.
Stay with it.
Absolutely.
And I was just watching the documentary on Netflix called Game Changers.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, but that I haven't finished it, but that itself is making me want to try something different now, and I'm all up for it.
It's funny you say that because actually when I actually had an interview like this with Rusev, and he was like, "Hey, tomorrow let's talk about Game Changers." I hadn't watched it yet, so I sat down that night and I watched the whole thing. We actually have a discussion about it up there, and I look at it like this. I think that everybody is different. Some people are going to try it and it's going to work really well for them. Other people are
Right.
going to try it. It's not. Other people do like a blend. Like I have kind of more of a blend. Like I'll do, chicken and I'll do kind of egg whites and I'll even do beef from Nutrition Solutions and stuff like that because I know it's lean. But there are other times where I say I'm going to have a meal and it's going to be oatmeal with plant-based protein in it and I stir it up and I eat that. You know what I mean? I'll kind of combine the diets and stuff like that. I haven't gone full vegan yet. I'm not saying that I never will. Like me and my wife, we're just super like into the things that we put in our
Nutrition.
body, getting those results out. Like even micronutrients, people don't understand how important vitamins and minerals are. They just think it's like, somebody take one a day, and they don't think much about it. But we're really big on, we only eat certain things. And don't get me wrong, we have a cheat day every week, and we eat like whatever. But my cheat day, I go to a place called Elevation Burger, which you guys have In-N-Out Burger out in California, which I love.
Yeah.
I love it. But we have Elevation.
Protein burger?
Oh, yeah, it's a great, dude. I have the double animal style, and then the Flying
Yes.
Dutchman. Great stuff. But
Yeah.
usually when I land on the West Coast, the first thing I do is usually go to In-N-Out. Whether it's cheat
That's
day
awesome.
or not. I don't care if it's cheat day. I don't care if it's the middle of the week. I go because we don't have it here. But on my cheat day here, I go to Elevation Burger. It's grass-fed beef. The buns are made out of wheat. Fries are made in olive oil or peanut oil instead of the regular oil and stuff like that. Even the cookies they have are like oatmeal and organic ingredients and stuff. So even my cheat days are more, I guess, healthier, cleaner options because I can eat 3 burgers there and not feel bloated or disgusting.
Yes.
If I go to Five Guys, I'm not hungry for like 7 hours because my stomach is extended and you get gas and you're all messed up. So it's like things have definitely
100%.
changed over time. And now we have so many options nowadays, whereas 20 years ago, we didn't have these better food options and stuff like that at all,
Right.
So yeah, I promised you a half hour. We're at 33 minutes now. Now, the last thing I want to ask is something that, tell us something about Rey Mysterio right now that people don't know that you think is cool, that you want people to know.
Wow, that's I would have to just definitely have to plug my collaboration with Roots of Fight.
I have a lot of it. I got a lot of stuff. I
because
got the bag. I got the jacket. I got a lot of that stuff.
Oh, thank you. So today we just announced the release for our 2019 stadium jacket, and to me that's something so cool just to be a part of the brand Roots of Fight and do a collaboration with them. I became a big fan of the brand about 4 years ago. Natty, Natalia Hart,
Yep.
was wearing a Ali T-shirt one day. I had just left WWE, and I remember seeing. I was like, "Oh, that's cool." It was blue with yellow lettering. Like the colors were very bright and vibrant, and it just caught my attention. Like, "Oh, where'd you get that Ali shirt?" He goes, "Oh, Ray, I gotta hook you up with Jesse, the owner from Roots of Fight. It's a brand. You're gonna love it." Blah blah blah. And it's like a chain reaction because I believe Eve Gracie told Natty about it. Natty told me, and who would have thought 4 years later I was going to end up doing a collaboration with them, which I want to say that I'm probably the only the only athlete with Roots of Fight that is active. Everybody else is either retired or no longer in existence. So we keep their memory alive by rocking their gear. But to be able to be part of that brand and to be still active, in my mid 40s and going hard still is actually a true blessing. I'm very thankful. But again, we just launched a jacket today, and we got a lot of cool things coming up in the future.
So I originally bought there's a black shirt, the Rey Mysterio one from Roots of Fight, and I was actually wearing it when I went to Sheamus's house. My wife and I went to stay with him a few months ago. And when I got there, I was wearing it, and he goes, "Oh, you like Rey?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Hang on one second." And he pulled out all this stuff. I guess Roots of Fight had sent him some stuff, but it didn't fit him. He was too big. So he gave me like the jacket. I got the Rey Mysterio jacket, the sweatshirt. I got all the pieces. I got them all now, except for the mask. It didn't come with a mask, but I was like, yeah. And when I left, he goes, "Take this too." And he had a gear bag, the Rey Mysterio duffel bag. So I got the buffel bag that I take to the gym too.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You gotta let me know, Jerry, what your logo is. What do you what represent you, so I can have a mask made custom just for you, so you can have in your office.
That would be insane, dude. That would be insane. Like,
yeah.
I remember telling you I collect the masks, and this one I actually have right here. This was my hardest one to find, which is the Valiente mask.
Yes.
This was the hardest one for me to find. Like, I always buy the masks when I go to Mexico. I want them handmade and I want them original. I don't want the stuff you buy on like eBay or something. So I have a couple of Mysterio masks. I have a Sin Cara. I have Blue Demon. I have Santo, Fishman. I mean, I've got quite a few of them. But like, I see you coming out every week with a new mask. I'm like, man, these things are just, they don't match up to the stuff that I'm buying. So that would be awesome. Thanks so much, man.
I tell you, you don't have a Rey Mysterio mask until Rey Mysterio gives you one of his masks.
That's a Rey Mysterio mask.
So you mentioned Fishman right now.
Yep.
The history. Let me give you a little bit of history. When I was 12 years old, my uncle, Rey Mysterio, had a match in Tijuana, right across the border here from San Diego, at the auditorium. There was like 6,000 plus people. That's how much it fit. The people were all the way up to the rafters. And he had a mask versus mask against Fishman. And Fishman was the wrestler who beat my uncle and unmasked him.
Really?
So I remember crying, at a 12-year-old. I was like, oh, my God, it just broke me down. And that made me want to even represent the Mysterio legacy much more. Just a little bit of insight there on that.
That's crazy.
On that mask, yeah.
Now, you had an unmasking in WCW years ago. Was that something that you were behind? You were like all for it? Or was it something you're just like, man, I don't know?
No, it all kind of happened out of the moment. For a while, they had been pursuing me no, Rey has to wrestle without the mask. And I want to say at the time they were just messing with me.
Yeah.
But that turned into reality. And, when the time came, I was like, all right, it is what it is. I'm under contract. You guys can pretty much do whatever you want. I had no say on what they can do or not do with my character. So, we went ahead and did it. But I'll tell you, I go back and reflect on that. If that wouldn't have happened, I don't think there would have been a Giant Killer.
Really?
I don't think I would have had the opportunity to face the Scott Nortons, the Kevin Nash, the Bam Bam Bigelows, and eventually open up this vision for younger, lighter talent like myself to be able to perform against the bigger dudes.
Right.
And that just, it was something that was it was impactful during the time that it happened, late 90s. And I think thanks to that opportunity, I was able to get an opening with WWE, and I was able later on to work with the big shows, the Undertakers, the bigger guys from the wrestling world.
So, I really like what you just did because it's something that I had to learn the hard way. You just took a negative and turned it into a positive. Like, you immediately spun it into something like, hey, yeah, this was not something I wanted to do originally. However, it panned out like this, so it worked out. And like that's something, again, something that I hope that people, when they see this and listen to it, can get that out of it too. So I know
thank you.
Dude, I know you're busy and you got to go. And again, this weekend, good luck at Survivor Series. Brock Lesnar, I think you could take him. I think it'd be fine, man.
I did before, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And anytime you want to be on the podcast, man, we'd love to have you on anytime, man.
Maybe next time we jump on the podcast, we can talk about the Game Changers.
Yes,
I know Arnold just came out with the new one, right?
I don't. He's definitely going the vegan route. I don't know if he came out with a.
Because when I first heard Game Changers, I thought it was the one that Arnold was promoting, which just came out this year.
Okay.
When I went on Netflix, it was the one that was made maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Oh, really?
But Arnold has a documentary that's on Apple TV that I saw. It's the same. It's Game Changers. It's bodybuilders that have became vegan, bodybuilders that are now up to date, current.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that one out. See if it's
Yes,
on Netflix or it's on Apple TV.
no, that I saw on Apple TV as a documentary
Okay.
because I thought it was the one that. So when I looked for the Arnold one, I thought it was on Netflix, but I ran into the one that you and Seamus watched.
Yeah.
Or who'd you watch it
Oh,
with?
it's Rusev. Rusev watched it.
Rusev,
Yeah.
yes. So, but there is a new version of that on Apple TV. It's a documentary that was made, I think, with Arnold, or Arnold was the producer, something like that. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to check it out because
Yeah.
I had heard about the Game Changers, but I just didn't have time to watch it. And then when Rusev,
Mm-hmm.
he's like, "Yeah, let's talk about that," because he had just watched it like the day before. I said, "Okay, this
Right.
forces me to sit down and watch it." And of
Yeah.
course, I've done plant things for. I mean, I couldn't tell you how long I've done plant proteins and stuff like that. I mean, I just pulled all the dairy out of my diet. I have cheese here and there once in a while, but I pulled the dairy out, and as soon as I pulled the dairy out, I felt better too. It was like the
Wow.
dairy was gone, I felt better. The sweeteners out of my diet, I felt better. Like, and my wife, she's a former bikini competitor. She's a CVR nurse. She does open heart surgery for a living, and she does heart transplants and
Oh
stuff
my
like
God.
that. And she has
Wow.
like a really intense job. I mean, it's super intense. And the more that she kept eating better, and the more that she kept, working out to keep herself healthy, the better she was at her job. The better she was.
More focus.
Yeah, it was just all the way around. So
Yeah.
we're big into like anything that we think is going to help us longevity wise and live a better life together and live longer and feel better on a
Yes.
day to day
Yes.
basis. We're into. So yeah, let's do that.
Oh,
Let's
man.
let's do a whole review of the Game Changer. That'd be awesome.
That's a beautiful thing you just preach right now. Just to live longer, to live healthier. That's something my wife and I talk about all the time. So I'm definitely gonna come back and pick your brain and try to um, help my wife to follow my route as well. So we can both jump on the same track. She loves health. She loves dieting. But I think my daughter picked up that slow genetic from her of doing things and then letting go,
Yeah.
and then coming back, then letting go. You got to stick with it. So I definitely would love to see what the key to stick with something works.
Absolutely, man. Well, Ray,
All
thank
right.
you. Thank you again so much for taking the time, man. I really appreciate it. This was great. And look forward to having you on again, man.
Thank you, Jerry. Much
All right.
love, man. Thank you.
Good
All
luck
right.
this weekend, man.
Thank you very much.